My stepdaughter, who always hated me, gave me a birthday card, and I was so touched until I opened it and read, "I hate you for marrying my mom, and I hope you die." As the sole breadwinner of the family, I decided to take action, and now she is begging me to stay in her life, because if I leave, she knows she will be alone forever. I, 42M, never expected to find myself in this situation. When I married my wife 5 years ago, I knew I was signing up for a package deal. She had a daughter 17F from her previous marriage, and I was prepared for the challenges that come with being a step-parent. What I wasn't prepared for was the level of hostility and resentment I'd face. From day one, my stepdaughter made it clear she wanted nothing to do with me. She refused to call me by name, referring to me only as him or that guy. Every attempt I made to connect was met with cold silence or outright hostility. Family dinners were tense affairs, with her barely acknowledging my presence. My wife tried to mediate, but her efforts only seemed to make things worse. "Give her time," she'd say. "She's still adjusting." But years passed, and nothing changed. If anything, the tension only grew. Despite the constant rejection, I tried to be a good stepfather. I attended her school events, cheered at her soccer games, and made sure she had everything she needed. As the sole breadwinner in our family, I worked hard to provide a comfortable life for all of us. My wife had been a stay-at-home mom since her daughter was born, and we agreed it was best for her to continue in that role. Then came my 42nd birthday. It fell on a Tuesday this year, a regular workday. I wasn't expecting much, maybe a quiet dinner with my wife later in the week. So when I came down to breakfast and saw a card propped up next to my coffee mug, I was surprised. "It's from her," my wife said, smiling hopefully. "She gave it to me last night to put out for you." I couldn't believe it. After 5 years of coldness, could this be a turning point? With trembling hands, I opened the envelope. The card itself was generic, a simple happy birthday on the front. But it was what was inside that mattered. As I unfolded the card, my heart swelled with emotion. This was it, the moment I'd been waiting for. A chance to finally connect with my stepdaughter. Then I read the words she'd written, and my world shattered. "I hate you for marrying my mom, and I hope you die." The words hit me like a physical blow. I must have made a sound because my wife was suddenly at my side, peering at the card. I heard her sharp intake of breath, saw the color drain from her face. I had no idea," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." But I barely heard her. All I could focus on were those hateful words, scrawled in angry black ink. 5 years of rejection and hostility distilled into one cruel message. In that moment, something inside me broke. All the patience, all the understanding I'd tried to maintain, it all crumbled away, leaving nothing but a raw, aching void. I stood up abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. Without a word, I grabbed my keys and left for work. I needed time to think, to process what had just happened. The day passed in a blur. I went through the motions at the office, my mind replaying those words over and over. By the time I drove home, I had made a decision. I found my wife in the kitchen, nervously preparing dinner. My stepdaughter was nowhere to be seen, probably hiding in her room as usual. "We need to talk," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. My wife nodded, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. We sat at the kitchen table, the same place where I'd opened that devastating card just hours before. "I can't do this anymore," I began. "I've tried for 5 years to be a good husband to you and a good stepfather to her. I've provided for this family, supported you both in every way I could. And this is what I get in return?" My wife started to speak, but I held up a hand. I needed to get this out. "I'm done," I continued. "I'm filing for divorce. I'll make sure you're both taken care of financially. I'm not a monster, but I can't live in this house anymore. Can't keep trying to be part of a family that clearly doesn't want me." The color drained from my wife's face. "Please," she whispered. "Don't do this. We can fix this. We can get family counseling. Try to work things out." I shook my head. It's too late for that. 5 years too late. Just then we heard a gasp from the doorway. My stepdaughter stood there, her face a mask of shock and fear. It was clear she'd heard everything. You can't leave," she stuttered. "You can't divorce, Mom. We need you." I laughed bitterly. "Need me? You've made it perfectly clear how you feel about me. Well, congratulations. You're getting what you wanted. I'll be out of your life for good." What happened next surprised me. Instead of the triumph I expected to see on her face, my stepdaughter burst into tears. She rushed forward, throwing herself into a chair at the table. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I didn't mean it. Please don't go. I stared at her, confused by this sudden change. You didn't mean it? You've been telling me you hate me for 5 years, with every cold shoulder, every nasty comment, every time you've ignored my existence. The card was just the final straw. She shook her head violently. I was stupid. I was angry. I thought if I pushed you away, you'd leave and it would just be me and Mom again. But I was wrong. I see that now. My wife reached out, taking her daughter's hand. Sweetie, why didn't you talk to me about this? Because, my stepdaughter hiccuped, I didn't want to disappoint you. You were so happy with him, and he was good to us, better than Dad ever was. I sat there, stunned by this outpouring of emotion. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to say it was all okay. But the hurt was still too raw, the betrayal too fresh. I appreciate your apology, I said slowly. But it doesn't erase the past 5 years. Words have consequences. Actions have consequences. Please, she begged, give me a chance to make it right. If you leave, if you divorce Mom, we'll have nothing, no one. And suddenly, I understood. It wasn't just about the money, though that was certainly part of it. It was about the stability I'd brought to their lives. The security? For all her outward hostility, my stepdaughter had come to rely on my presence, even if she didn't want to admit it. I need time to think, I said finally. This isn't a decision I can make right now. I stood up, needing some space. As I left the room, I heard my stepdaughter's quiet voice. I really am sorry. I know I don't deserve it, but please don't give up on us. The next few weeks were tense. I moved into the guest room, needing some physical distance as I sorted through my emotions. My wife and stepdaughter walked on eggshells around me, clearly afraid that any wrong move would send me packing. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to change. My stepdaughter started making an effort to engage with me. She'd ask about my day at dinner, offer to help with chores around the house. Small gestures, but significant given our history. One evening, about a month after the birthday card incident, she approached me as I sat reading in the living room. Can we talk? She asked hesitantly. I nodded, setting aside my book. She sat down across from me, fidgeting nervously. I've been seeing a therapist, she began, trying to work through my issues, and I realized I've been unfair to you, more than unfair. I've been cruel. I remained silent, letting her speak. When you married Mom, I was scared. Dad had hurt us so badly, and I thought you'd do the same, so I pushed you away before you could hurt us first. She took a deep breath. But you never did. You've been nothing but kind and supportive, even when I was awful to you. And I took advantage of that. Tears welled up in her eyes. I know saying sorry isn't enough, but I want to try to make things right. If you'll let me. I felt my own eyes burning. It won't be easy, I said softly. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. She nodded. I know, but I want to try. You are the closest thing to a real father I've ever had. I was just too stubborn and scared to see it. In that moment, looking at this young woman who had caused me so much pain, I saw something I'd never noticed before. Vulnerability, fear, a desperate need for love and acceptance that she'd been too afraid to show. Okay, I said finally. We can try. The relief on her face was palpable. Thank you, she whispered. I won't let you down. Not again. It wasn't an instant fix. There were still awkward moments, times when old habits threatened to resurface. But slowly, day by day, we began to build a real relationship. My wife watched this transformation with joy and relief. Our home, once a battlefield of tension and resentment, gradually became a place of healing and growth. As the months passed, I found myself looking forward to our family dinners, to weekend outings where we actually enjoyed each other's company. My stepdaughter and I discovered shared interests, a love of sci-fi movies, a competitive streak when it came to board games. We even started a tradition of Saturday morning runs, just the two of us. On my next birthday, I approached the card on the breakfast table with a mix of trepidation and hope. But this time, when I opened it, the words inside brought tears to my eyes for all the right reasons. To the man who never gave up on me, even when I gave him every reason to. Thank you for being the father I never knew I needed. Happy birthday, Dad. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. We still had work to do, wounds to heal. But as I looked at my wife and stepdaughter, No, my daughter, I knew we were on the right path. Sometimes family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about sticking together even when things get tough, about forgiveness and second chances. It's about love that perseveres, even in the face of hatred and rejection. As I blew out the candles on my birthday cake that evening, surrounded by the warmth of my family's love, I made a silent wish. Not for myself, but for us. For the strength to keep growing, to keep healing, to keep choosing each other every day. Because that's what real family does. And finally, after all these years, that's exactly what we had become.